This thing looks way cool. This right here is the CITRON melon, also known as the Makataan. This looks like a little watermelon, right? Kind of like if you took a big watermelon and you squeezed it down into a little round shape. And that is no coincidence. This has the same common ancestor as the watermelons that we find at supermarkets today. So this should have some similarities with the watermelon that we know, but it also will have some things in common with what watermelons were like before they were domesticated. And this was sent to me by Joey. So Joey, thank you. The citron melon is originally from Africa, specifically from the Kalahari Desert area. And in that area, this has been prized as one of a few fruits out there that can be used as a water source. In times of need, if you're thirsty, you can actually like crush this thing and extract a liquid out of it, and that can replenish your thirst. These days, it's not really used so much for that purpose, but it has found another use, and that is to be used to make preserves out of it, something called watermelon Konfyt, or Makataan Konfyt. And I'm actually going to try to make that later in the episode, but right now I'm not. Let's talk a little bit more about it. The taxonomy of this fruit, you know, like the species, variety, subspecies, genus, like that sort of deal, for this fruit is real confusing. Sometimes it is considered to be its own species. Other times it is considered to be in the same species as regular watermelon that you get from the supermarket, but considered to be a different variety. And in both cases, sometimes the name that is used for this is actually a racial slur for black Africans in South Africa. Unfortunately, that seems to be a pretty common thing, but there are names for this today that won't bother anybody, and the one that has shown up that I think is probably the most proper description for this is Citrullus, lanatus, which is actually the same species as regular watermelon, but the variety is citroides. Citroides? I don't know. I'm going to put it on the screen right here. According to the website Eat the Weeds, there are varieties of the citron melon that are bitter, and there are varieties that are not bitter. And if you have one that is bitter, you shouldn't eat it. So if this is bitter, this is going to be a short episode. There's no flesh. I mean, I guess maybe this around the seeds is the fruit, but it's like all rind. It's just like a big white mass in there. And also the seeds, as you can see, are red. They look like regular watermelon seeds, but they're red in color. That's neat. Because it is like all rind, even with a cleaver, I'm like not having an easy time cutting into this thing. And there are a lot of seeds in there. The smell of this is like between watermelon and pumpkin. It's got like a squashy kind of smell to it. It's not bitter. It's not bitter, so this is the variety that can be used. Thank you, Joey. A lot of the recipes say that you can, instead of using this, you can use watermelon rind, regular watermelon rind. And that makes sense because this tastes exactly like watermelon rind. The texture of it is nice. It's nice and crispy. Also, just like watermelon rind. I'll try one of the seeds just on its own as well. The seeds don't really taste like much, like a very mild chestnut kind of flavor. My sponsor today is Cometeer Coffee. This is a new way to make coffee that is quick easy, and delicious. They take perfectly made coffee and they flash freeze it into one of these little capsule things. You add hot water and then bam, you have coffee. It's regular coffee. It tastes exactly like a really good freshly brewed coffee. In the morning, I will make a pot of coffee the normal way. I'll grind the beans, do the whole deal. But I'm doing that for myself and for my wife. In the evening, I want coffee, she doesn't. So what do? I use Cometeer. It's so much easier. You don't have to grind it, you don't have to brew it, you don't have to clean up all those little coffee devices that you've got. In the end, all you're left with is a little capsule that you can recycle, or you can clean it out and use it as a little top hat for your pets. To get Cometeer, just go to their website, pick the kind of coffee that you want. Monthly shipments will be delivered right to your door. For a limited time, you can get 25% off your first 2 orders of Cometeer. Just go to the website cometeer.com or click the link in the description below and use my promo code Explorer25. So that's all pretty interesting, but I am not done. I am going to attempt to make, as I said, the Makataan Konfyt. Yeah, I'm not super excited to do this because honestly, this is a big pain to do. It reminds me a lot of an episode that I made in the past on the fig leaf melon, also known as the shark fin melon, because used as a shark fin substitute in China, and in Mexico it is used to make a candy. And that candy follows a very similar process. It takes days. So what I did back then is, well, here's a clip. This is a very interesting sweet, and how you make this is that you take the fruit, you cut it up into chunks, let it sit for 24 hours in a solution of water and lime. After 24 hours, you boil it in a sugar solution for an hour. Then you take it out and you let it rest for 24 hours. And then you repeat that process 3 times. Then you let it dry out and you're left with this. Or if you're like me, you will do the first 2 steps and then be like, I don't have time for this, and then go to the Mexican grocery store down the street and just pick up a piece. So I cheated. And if we're gonna be honest here, I was gonna cheat again with the Makataan. I wasn't gonna go through the full process. I was just gonna buy a can of it and just refer you to a link to somebody else doing it on another channel. But here's the problem. Couldn't find anyone else doing it. I found some people doing it with regular watermelon, but not the Makataan. And I found a few reviews of people giving tips and ideas, but not fully explaining the process. So fine, I'm gonna do it. So, alright. Next tedious step, you're going to take each individual hunk and you're going to stab it with a fork throughout, like so, and then you're going to flip it, and then do it again. I've seen a few videos of people doing this with some torture device. If you got one of those around, you can use one of those. I don't, believe it or not. I don't have one of those in my apartment. I kind of want one. Everything has been pierced. And why did I do that? Well, it's to help the lime get in there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you need to soak this stuff in a water and lime solution. I am not talking about one of these. I'm talking about this white powder. And no, this is not that kind of white powder. It's calcium hydroxide, I believe. There's a lot of things you could do with this sort of stuff. This is the same sort of white powder that is used in betel nut. You could take corn kernels and soak it in this solution as well to turn it into hominy. And yeah, probably the easiest way to get your hands on it is to buy it online. A few recipes online say that instead of this you can use baking soda. This is going to change the texture of what you soak it in. It makes it kind of crunchy and crispy. With baking soda, I don't think it's going to do that. Maybe. And other recipes say that you use alum. When I think alum, all I can think about is Tom and Jerry cartoons. You put alum in something and it makes Tom's mouth go like this. That's all I know about alum. And then he has to try to suck up Jerry with a straw. But I'm going to use this because traditionally I think this is what you're supposed to use. Let's go. I think it can actually be uncovered. I just don't want my cat to get into it. So that's what this is about. While I'm waiting for the Makataan, I'm going to prepare the seeds. So to this, I'm just going to add a little bit of oil, pinch of salt, mix it up, spread it out onto a baking sheet. And these seeds, by the way, I clean them and I let them dry. Place them in an oven set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for I don't know how long. That is 15 minutes worth of cooking. Not as good as watermelon seeds because these are very hard to chew. The flavor is good. It's a little bit, well, it's similar to watermelon seeds. It has a taste that's a little bit like sunflower seeds. Still tastes fine, but you want to have strong teeth. And I should also point out that a lot of times when I make a video like this, where I cook and eat seeds, I get comments from people saying, "Oh God, no, don't eat those poor fruit babies. Send those seeds to me." Don't worry, I do have some that I did not roast, and those are going to go to my Patreon supporters. I didn't kill all of the fruit babies, I just killed half of them. And yeah, don't send me emails asking if I'll send you seeds. I won't respond. But if you go to Patreon, there is a way to get seeds if you're over there. And yeah. I put this in the fridge to chill a little bit. It is translucent. You can actually see my finger through it. That's how you know you've got a window to deliciousness. Oh, I think because of it being soaked in the lime solution, it keeps a nice crispy crunch to it. You could probably even hear it. The texture of it is like a pickle, like a cucumber pickle. It's got that kind of like crunch to it, but also that kind of like saturation with liquid that a pickle would have. And having the seed in there, also kind of nice because it gives a little extra crunch. The fact that people put spices in this makes a lot of sense because you're mostly getting a sugar taste. I'm also getting a bit of pumpkin sort of flavor, a little bit. You know, it's mild. It's really, really mild. And this is very similar to the fig leaf melon. But that one has a different texture than this. It's like dried out. It's not in syrup the way that this one is. But the preparation is similar enough that I wonder if they have some sort of relation. They're from very different parts of the world. You know, this is from South Africa and the other one is from like Mexico. But maybe at some point there was something going on, some trade or something. I'm not sure. It is a preserve. It keeps, you know, this maybe was on a ship at some point going from Africa to Mexico or something. Maybe this has gotten around and kind of like evolved along the way. No matter how this came about, both ideas, pretty good. It's a good way to take this sort of fruit that, you know, honestly, when it's raw, doesn't really taste like much. It's something that's just used for water and making something that is quite delicious out of it. This, I think, is a good idea. This was fun, and I hope you enjoyed watching this little experiment of mine, making the Makataan preserves. And I will see you all next time. I would like to give a big shout out to Loftyrex and Smarter Every Day. They are mega patrons over on patreon.com. Patreon.com is basically how I can afford to go on all the adventures I do on this channel. So if you enjoy my series and you want to help support me, check out the link in the description below. If you don't want to go on Patreon, I also have t-shirts for sale like this one here, the Durian Anatomy shirt. That is available on my website, which I also put in the description below. Thanks so much, everybody. See you next time.